Hello, welcome to the Creators Guild podcast. I'm Chris Howald, and with me,
Jared Lovelady.
and we're here to talk about all things creative. And we have a return guest visiting with us today. Your name, little boy?
Caleb Howald.
Caleb's here with us. The little boy on the front row. He had lots of questions for us that he wanted to ask us, like how many licks to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Tootsie Pop, stuff like that. So we told him he could come and talk to us again today. Before we get in with Caleb, though, go buy our book.
Yes.
No, but seriously, book 2, Jared.
The writing is done.
The writing is done. Well, we still have to.
The manuscript is complete.
Yes, manuscript is complete. It's going to our editor, and we're going to do a couple edits in as quick a time as we possibly can. And then, yeah, we're like the end of book 2. When wasn't it? Was the day before yesterday? Was it Monday?
Um,
I think Monday. We were finally like the last chapter.
yeah.
I guess last night we went through.
Last night we pulled the last bullet points out.
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
I guess technically we're not done.
No, shut up. So one of the methods we've come up with for writing is we try to write the story, and as we're writing the story, we'll try to be like, okay, what needs to happen in this chapter? Sometimes it'll be like a high level overview, with bullet pointed lines of, they need to go here. Tawara needs to go here, and then Athandra needs to do this, and Alandar needs to react like this. And it's just a real one sentence might turn into like 4 or 5 paragraphs.
Yeah.
But what we try to do most of the time is actually write out the scene, but we still do it sometimes sentence by sentence or paragraph by paragraph. It's bullet pointed.
Mm-hmm.
And that way, it's kind of like mentally giving ourselves permission to say, this is an outline. If you can't think of exactly how, instead of spending 2 hours trying to get the paragraph or the sentence to be perfect, we're like, oh, we've rewritten this so many times and it's garbage. If it's bullet pointed, you're like, oh, it's just an outline. I just need to get the idea down. So then you can just be like, I don't know what to say here, but they escaped from the gargoyle.
Mm-hmm.
And move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
So that's what you're talking about. Just that explanation. That's removing bullet points.
Yeah.
We go through and we're like, okay, we're going to read through this with all the bullet points there like it's just the story. Do we need to edit, change sentence structure, add anything, take anything away to make it into a story? And anywhere we don't, we're just like, and remove bullet point. Remove bullet point, remove bullet point. And you get to the end and you're like, chapter! We didn't even have to edit anything.
Yeah.
Sometimes that happens.
Yeah. It's a nice little tool we've learned.
Yeah.
It works better for you, I think.
Yeah,
I don't write quite that way. But
yeah, it really helps me when we'll come up with an idea and be like, okay, what needs to happen here? Like, I don't know, but we need to get it on paper as quick as possible before the brain goes,
yeah.
I can't think anymore. So then we just start, we're like, okay, they go blah, 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 and they do this next, and they do this next, and they do this next. And then sometimes you get into, that helps me at least, get into a rhythm where I'm like, the long dark hallway, the light of the moon came in, and, the ghostly shadows were and then I actually it gets me into writing, but I can go in and out and in and out of actually telling the story versus outlining the story.
It takes the pressure of permanence off, I think.
Yes.
Because you're like, okay, I'm getting this down. I'm getting all the ideas out. But if it's not perfect, it's okay. Just keep moving. Even though really you're writing just the same way you would before. You're just not holding that pressure against yourself.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like what you're saying is one, you've improved efficiency, but then two, if I'm understanding this correctly, is you start off with one idea. Here's an idea for a book. So that's your point one. And then within that one, then you create two, three, 4 points within that. And then within each point, you're saying, okay, in this point, it's she opens the door and finds a dead body. So, what does that look like in the story? And then you're going back and removing those points. So, it sounds like you're just building off. You have 1 point, and then that point becomes 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then you have a book.
To an extent. So it would be we've kind of gone through and done the first point level from an overall number of books perspective. Like each book, we need to tell this piece and this piece and this piece to get to our end goal. And then we say within that, like we've changed chapters around a lot.
Yeah.
So like chapters might be, okay, we've broken this into, there's going to be 5 books for Ascension of a Queen. Well, within Ascension of a Queen, those 5, so bullet 1 is Ascension of a Queen. And then sub points is 5 books. But,
Right.
the first one is A Flight from Shadows, then To Bind with Blood, and then Death of a Queen. We get all those spelled out, and then we're like, okay, what needs to happen? And then those next layer points turn into chapters.
Right.
But then when we're actually writing out the chapter, it's just saying,
It gets a little looser structure once you're actually into it.
yeah,
Like once you get down to the lower level, then it's like, okay, well, now we need a little bit more room to move around.
yeah. It's like, so in book 1, the chapter, for example, the chapter where Teth escapes, we're like, okay, we're telling this part about Teth, and we don't want to write it from Teth's perspective. But starting out, we're like, okay, what needs to happen in this chapter? He's going to come back later. He's going to have a role later on. So we need him to get out. So what needs to happen? Well, the first overall thing is just like, he's got to escape. Like, okay, but what does that look like? And then we said, well, we're going to bring in another character. We're going to bring in somebody who has been mentioned already. And that's the traveling warden. He's already come through and now he's coming back. We already have the master jailer. Those 2 characters, they would be the ones that would experience Teth's escape. So then we're like, okay, well, we just need to let's write from the jailer's perspective. The jailer's, he's going to come into town. He's going to visit, or the warden. He's going to visit the jailer. He's going to run into Teth. And so we start at that level of bullet points. And then we're like, okay, well, now we need to turn this into more of a story.
I guess that will also, I guess we'll see what book 2 looks like. It sounds like you've changed your process a little bit from book 1. Obviously you're going to learn and adapt and stuff like that. But it would feel to me that that would make it feel more structured if you didn't go back and eliminate those points later, where it's hit the point, hit it. And then when you read it back, it seems like your writing might feel different in the second book, where it's, okay, am I reading a list or am I reading a story?
Yeah, that's where, because we actually read through it. What we mean by the points, like it's literally removing a bullet point,
Right.
for turning it from a bullet point into a paragraph. So we'll read it and be like,
but it won't feel I guess my point is disconjointment between your paragraphs then.
No.
Where it's, if you have those separate points, then is it written, how fluid is that going to appear when you're reading it?
Yeah, no, that's where what we give ourselves permission to do is, if I can't come up with the perfect description and I just need the idea, I can just be like, hit return, it puts another bullet point on, and I can be like, the jailer brings Teth food, return. The jailer, he has poison, return. He's going to do the, like that's the structure that needs to happen. reading through it, you're like, that's not a story. It's an
Right.
outline. It's
Yeah.
not a story. But there are times where we get into a flow where we'll start writing and be like I said, there'll be a bullet point, and then that bullet point might be a full paragraph with all the description, like finished. The goal of that, like that writing is it's finished in rough draft form, but it's finished where it's, you know, um, he walks down the stair as he, you know, the light flickered, casting ghostly shadows down the stairs as he crept stealthily, crept stealthily and tried to avoid making any sounds. When he reached the bottom of the stairs, he peered cautiously around the corner, making sure, trying to avoid any interaction with any,
Yeah.
like we're writing at that level,
Yeah,
even
you're
though
not
it's a
just-
bullet point.
You're not just injecting adjectives into your bullet point.
Yeah.
No.
Where you're like, we need him to walk down the stairs. Add in silently.
Yeah.
That I think is what it would appear to be. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what the book, see what it reads like. Maybe,
Yeah.
have to buy it and find out, I guess.
Exactly. Buy it and find out.
So what else is going on?
So, I guess that's actually a good transition into one of the things we wanted to ask you about is you had mentioned before that you tried doing some writing.
Yeah.
How'd that go?
Terrible. Yeah, terrible. Well, I'm always sending you ideas and
Yeah.
story ideas and stuff like that, and I always tell you, you can do whatever you want with these ideas. Put them out there for other people if they are lacking ideas or whatever. So, yeah, I was like, well, I'll give it a try and see. And I got through one page of writing, and granted, this is me physically writing with a
Yeah.
pen, so a bit slower, but yeah, I mean, I could not keep up with my brain, and I had no writing structure like you're talking about or anything like that. I was just like, I'll just start writing.
Yeah.
This is easy. It's right. I know how to write. No, I don't know how to write. That's what I learned. I don't know how to write because for me anyways, yeah, you can't just start writing because it's so much slower than what your brain is going.
You just got to remember, Caleb, that when you read, you begin with A, B, C, and when you sing, you begin with Do, Re, Mi.
I don't know what that has to do with anything.
No, but you bring up a really good point. That is it's something I come across a lot when I'm writing. Is you'll sit down and like usually when I write a chapter, I'll have that high level outline, and I'll keep that on the page below what I'm writing. And you start your writing and you look at your next point and your brain starts writing immediately.
Yeah.
What should happen, what's going to go on.
Yeah.
And your hands can't work that fast. And your cognitive, okay, is this really what I want to say? All this other stuff, it's like putting filters in a fluid.
Yeah.
And and so you have to keep that. What did I just think I want to put down? Because I've got to that has to go through. Is that what I really want? Yes. Okay. Now my hands have to type it, and then I've got to read back through it.
But by the time you're typing it, your brain's already on to the next.
Exactly.
Might be the next sentence, might be the next page.
Yeah. So holding on to that,
Yeah.
all that narrative in your mind while you're trying to get it on the page, it really is difficult.
I got frustrated pretty quickly with it. I mean, like you're saying, I mean, it's trying to have a 4-inch pipe flow into a 1/2-inch valve, at X amount of psi, and you're like, yes, that's never going to work.
Yeah.
You're never going to get it through there fast enough. It's never going to work. So that, I mean, I might try it again later at some point or whatever, but like you're saying, you guys have learned, and sounds like your methods are improving and stuff like that. But it definitely is, you need to learn how to write. You need to learn these skills. Otherwise, you're going to probably run into the same thing. It sounds,
Yeah.
for me anyways.
I mean, for us, that the whole bullet point thing, in reality, is kind of a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
It's a way to, can I speed up getting ideas onto a page? But even then, like, I don't know, when you were writing, when you tried to write that one page, what did you see? Like, what did you envision? Like from a story perspective versus what you were getting on the page.
Well, that just is, for me, I have pretty active imagination, like when it comes to things. So I'm visually imagining it as it's happening.
Yeah.
So
Like a movie playing.
like a
in your head.
movie, yeah, like a movie playing, and then as I'm writing it, it's what is being not only seen but what is being experienced as well
Yeah.
inside of that. So I have to pause the movie, literally frame by frame is how I just started writing, because I knew the basic outline of the scene. But then, yeah, I had to pretty much pause that and start taking it frame by frame of, okay, what's are they feeling? What's emotions are happening? Is there wind? Is there this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, was so tedious. um, that and that's we were talking before this. I was like asking, and I guess you kind of answered that with your outline stuff. Is it okay? I have the whole thing written already, so now I don't have to think about it.
No.
I've tried doing that. Come up with great stuff. You get an idea like when you can't sleep or something.
Right.
And you'll be thinking about a scene in the book that it's coming up to write. And you can write some great stuff in your head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you go, even if you get up, if you spend half an hour going through a scene in your head, even if you get up right then, it's gone.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. There's
pieces are there, but you never get back, So learning to be able to slow that down and only think about what's going onto the page and what's right before what's going onto the page. It's been a learning curve. I mean, you really do. You have to learn how to write.
Yeah.
And,
well, I mean, I have written like whole chapters and stuff that I'm like, this is amazing. And then I wake up and I'm like, gosh dang it, it was a dream. It was a great, that was an awesome scene. And then I try to remember what the scene was and I'm like, nope. That's gone.
So is it, do you guys have a separate sheet or anything when you're writing which for me, I don't know if I could do it because I would just go off a tangent, but something like, idea, right, jot that down, back to writing the main thing.
That's where bullet points help a lot.
Yeah.
Because you type okay, bullet point going down, they got to go down to this other place, return. They find this at the other place. And then you think, well, wait a minute, why do they find that there? What's the history about it? So you hit return and it puts a bullet point and then you go tab, and it moves it over.
Okay.
to
Gotcha.
It shifts the whole thing over. And then you're like, here's the whole history of all of that. Like the bad, 10,000 years ago, there was this thing and it fell off a cliff and it created this magic spell, and the magic spell took over all the stuff in the world and the goblins and all the things and everything. And then you're like, okay, I spit that out. Now shift, tab, take me back over to the right level of the chapter that I'm on. And yep, they found that at the end of the hallway.
So I was just thinking about in movies where they depict older eras, writers or artists or something. It's like, oh, these papers and stuff, and they have always have ink on their hand. I'm like, really? It sounds like they should do that like 5 times more than what they already do. Where it's like if they show 10 pages on the table, it's like, no,
Yeah.
no, that should be like 100 pages on the table with
Yeah.
100 ink things and
It's Always Sunny in
X
Philadelphia,
amount.
where he has the things all
Right.
over his house, and he's like, "Look at this! Look!"
Yeah, it's like, yeah, before
That's it.
computers, that's
Yeah.
imagine doing that same thing, but you don't just hit delete.
Yeah. Think about Mary Shelley writing Frankenstein. She had to write it all by hand. Like I don't know that, like, she just wrote it. Like, I don't think she gave it to, like, somebody edit this for me.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know the history.
Clearly wasn't edited.
But I'm like, imagine doing that. And on top of that, you don't have a pen that you can go clickety and let me just
Right.
start writing. You got to be like, and the monster walked dip across the road where he saw dip. Oh, brush that off. That was a little too much. A bird, and he went, oh gosh, splotch, it bled. I pushed too hard. New sheet. And the monster walked dip across,
Yeah.
Well,
you know?
one thing that I found that you build a mental discipline to
Right.
not let yourself go off on tangents when you're in the middle of something. And that's based on your physical limitations. We have tab, bullet point. So we can go off more, you know. I would say that writers in the past or people who do it more traditionally or whatever have learned to curb those
Right.
within, you know, what they're able to shuffle or juggle, you know, and say, okay, well, I can't go down that because I'm writing this, you know. And maybe you write just a quick little note on another pad or something, but you know, you have to work within what you have to work with. And
Yeah, I mean, it's skills. You're
Yeah.
building skills.
Yeah.
And whether that's, yeah, I mean, if you were back then starting writing, yeah, you probably dealt with the same things. And then you had to develop those skills. Like you're saying, of slowing down, of, okay, don't get too ahead because I have to dip the ink this many times. So it's a pattern that I'm sure they probably got into of
Yeah.
pausing mentally without even knowing they were doing it. And different things like that. Well, and plus, if you were well off, it's like, what really did you have to do all day? Like, not very.
Yeah.
It's not,
Yeah.
or it's like, oh, I'm gonna go over here. Well, didn't it take you 30 minutes? It took you half the day. So you
Yeah.
had time, where it's
I mean, they probably had like a lot of distractions. Like, I'm going to sit here and doom scroll TikTok videos.
right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was just, I imagine they were facing the same things, but yeah, I'm sure there was an element of, yeah, they just didn't have the same amount of distractions or implications. They didn't know what was going on in Russia or whatever, every day, every
Yeah.
second of the day, constant,
Yeah.
interruptions and distractions, things like that. It's like, well, I could go watch that bird. I better watch that bird instead of writing.
Yeah. So do you remember, or do you want to share when you started to write, what it was about? Or are you like, no, I'm gonna hang on to that?
Oh no, that doesn't matter. I was that story that I told you about where that guy he had been the bad guy had taken him when he was a kid and then kind of raised him as his own. And had killed his dad and then basically kept his mom inside of like a servitude and but didn't tell him it was his mom or anything. and kind of raised him to be a more or less bad guy as well.
Yeah.
And in the opening scene is him killing a person on a train platform, uh, simply because the guy like talked to him wrong or whatever it was. I can't remember exactly right now what I wrote down, but yeah, the guy looked at him the wrong way or whatever. And it opens with him, a depiction of that, like the blood across the whitewashed train platform,
Yeah.
and he's cleaning his blade, and then that guy shuffles up behind him, and then it sets that stage for the skills that he has. One, he's doesn't care.
Yeah.
He notices the guy coming before the guy gets there. It sets that stage for the type of person that he is, the type of skills that he has, and the interaction between mentor and mentee. And is that correct? Mentor, mentee?
Yes.
All right. Anyways. So yeah,
Unless
kind
they're in
of
the ocean, then it's Manitor, Manatee.
Minotaur. See why you can't let your brain wander? Now I'm thinking about Greek mythology.
Okay, so it opens depicting his skills. Sorry, I derail things frequently.
But yeah, it sets the stage for that and their relationship between each other, and it's back, I don't know, late 1700s type era.
So what was it? Is the premise of the story you were creating, was it more like a like murder mystery, or who done it, or was there magic involved? Was it historical fiction? Like what would it kind of fall under?
Was it more of a case study type thing?
Yeah, I'd say more like that because the that guy's the main character inside of there, and it's his learning about his past and him learning the truth, and then what he's going to do with that information.
Yeah.
And basically, because of how he's raised, it comes to one logical conclusion: is okay, now I'm going to kill everybody. Like, it wouldn't have mattered what information it was. He's already been raised to act a certain way and almost in a way programmed. So there wasn't any hope for him anyways. Like, he would have killed everybody regardless of what the information was.
But he was raised. He was raised to do that, so he kind of
Right.
fulfilled his destiny anyway.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and the way that I was thinking was you giving the reader a sense of maybe there is another outcome. Maybe he walks away, having the mom there. Oh, he can go with her now and stuff like that. No,
So it's kind of like
it's a false hope.
the story arc would kind of be like would be like starting out in a bad position, learning, and then becoming the villain that he was, like becoming the even more of the villain than what he was even raised to be.
Right. And he
So
has
it
that.
total the opposite of a redemption story.
Yeah, I mean, he at one point would have that realization of, well, this is this is the person that raised me, and he's not a good person,
Yeah.
and maybe going against that nature of himself, but ultimately, like, he can't.
Is it a
Because his mom is actually who raised him, so she would have tried to impart different lessons on him,
yeah.
but ultimately, which is why he's returning now after traveling and going to school and things like that, and that also sets up a different dynamic where even though that guy raised him, it was a relationship that was very much that mentor relationship, not so much a close personal father figure relationship, but that separation there, and
Yeah.
then sending him off to school. Like, you're, I'm creating a path for you. And so, yes, he did raise him, but there wouldn't be as much an emotional attachment to end up killing him also.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've watched Dexter.
Yeah.
So like that with Dexter, where when he was young, and his family was murdered just brutally in front of him and everything, and that part of the premise was like that left an indelible mark on him forever. Was there something like that in his past that also contributed to? I mean, you could argue that that character is kind of a Dexter character,
Yeah.
where, yeah, it's not his police dad that he finds out later is not his real dad, and he was raised by people who tried to care for him and take care of him, but he had this dark past, the dark passenger that was always with him. And then, of course, with Dexter, you end up finding out at some point, like, he's like, oh, wait a minute, I didn't actually have to do this, but he continued to. So something like that, but with this guy with Dexter, there's some part of it where there's a bit of a redemption quality.
Right.
With this guy, though, you think there might be redemption, and then nope.
Well, and
this is the villain story.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it would be, but the difference is Dexter knows what he's doing is wrong.
Yeah.
Like, there is a morality there, and he simply can't overcome his urges.
Yeah.
So it's channeled, but he understands what he's doing is wrong. He's not a complete psychopath. Whereas, they kind of try to set it up like that, but it doesn't stick. And it's like, no, he's not a complete psychopath. There's psychopaths that he kills.
Yeah.
And you see the stark difference between the two.
Yeah.
And for this person, it's
like the John Lithgow character.
He's not going against any morality because he has no morality.
Yeah.
Like the guy that, his mentor, I mean, look at what he did, where he killed this kid's dad, took his mom, saw an opportunity to basically profit off this kid and be like, oh, free person to raise up and do whatever I want.
Yeah.
So, if even in comparison to him, it's like, well, that kid's not that bad.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy's really bad. So, yeah, he is a villain, but also he learns the truth, and he gets that in the end of, well, what really is more important to him is not the morality of things, because it just doesn't really come into play, but having that clarity and what's the word?
Like a revelation.
Yeah. Like when a couple breaks up and then they're like, oh, I need to get, what's the word I'm looking for?
Closure?
Yeah, he
Okay,
has that type of closure in his life where at the end he's like, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
And it's not a novel, it's a short story. That's how I was writing it. It's more short story than
Gotcha.
the whole long epic.
Yeah, but some I could see something like that. Like, you may not want it to be super long. I'm thinking of like the movie. A guy at work and I were just talking about it the other day. The movie Seven.
Yeah.
where I'm like, that may be like the topic is really dark and, you know, the whole movie, but it's incredibly well written, well acted. From a production standpoint, in my mind, that may be one of the like best produced movies of all time. But based on like the writing level, the acting, the production, uh, the storytelling, very disturbing, very dark. Um, but you get the Kevin Spacey's character, you know, where you get through to the end, and you find out like the whole thing has been a test.
Right.
Whole thing has been a test, and he's just like uh, crazy is not the right word, but you know, he's come to this acceptance of himself a long time ago.
Right. Yeah, there is no struggle. There is no moral quandary. There,
Yeah.
like that doesn't cross his mind at this point. There, and um, well, it leads to a deeper thing of, I think that, especially in writing, that can be too abstract of a concept of this moral struggle and stuff like that, or high level, I guess. Whereas in reality, it's just feelings. It's not, "Oh, should I, shouldn't I?" It's that feeling when you're like, why am I even feeling this? That doesn't make any.
Yeah.
I don't even agree with that. I don't even think that. Why would I feel this way about that?
Yeah.
But it's that programming that you've had, nature versus nurture, that you've had instilled with you. And, well, it's wrong to do this, right to do that, whatever, whatever. But lacking that, those feelings aren't going to come up.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so he's actually gone further than just a mental struggle. He's emotionally stopped feeling those feelings.
yeah. Yeah, I can see. Look at if you look at just, you know, there's all kinds of philosophical things about the nature of man and the nature. Look at actual nature, and even though everything's depicted as like the beauty of nature and how lovely it is, and it's like no, everything out there tends toward destruction, and it all wants to kill you, like
Yeah.
all of it. And all the things out there have a tendency to also destroy and kill each other.
Well, and that's why
And
those
sometimes
creatures,
it just looks really pretty with the flowers and smells, you know, it smells nice or whatnot. And
It
it's
all boils down
lovely.
to we just got to eat.
Yeah.
well,
So now from that character
Kinda.
perspective, if you take, you know, fundamental to human nature is the same thing that exists in all of the rest of nature. But now take that element of nature and add trauma to it, and then layer on top of that being trained to emphasize that nature completely
yeah.
and accept it, embrace it, and magnify it to, you know, to benefit yourself
Well, I think
with no consequence, with no understanding, with no moral understanding of consequence.
yeah.
Consequence is just a direct result of action, but there is no moral consequence to action. Put all those things together, you know, like you'd be like, is this a monster? Is it?
Well, and that's where people put their feelings on animals or their feelings onto other people,
Yeah,
where they're thinking, oh, this person must do this because it's enjoyable. This
yeah,
person must do it because they they're going against this or something like that. And like you're saying with nature, there's some animals that kill because they kill.
yeah,
It's not for food, it's not for pleasure. They
yeah,
kill because they are killers.
yeah, yeah. They're literally
That's the reason they're killing things,
isn't
is to kill them.
like I I might be wrong, but I thought like studies they've done with polar bears, where like I think it's polar bears that I'm thinking of. They're one of the creatures that like there are animals that are territorial.
Yeah.
That you don't go in their territory because that's their territory and they protect their territory. But polar bears will be like, yeah, they're not. There's nothing threatening their territory. They're not hungry. They're just like, yeah, that little thing over there. I'm not hungry. I just ate. It comes in and out. There's no reason for me to be aggressive toward it. In fact, I'm kind of tired right now. I think I'm going to go get up and bite its head off.
Yeah, I don't
You
know
know,
if
and
that's
rip
polar
it
bears,
apart.
but yeah, there's multiple animals like that they'll just kill for the sake of killing, where people will put their, like I said, their emotions on it and be like, oh, well, it must because they're territorial. I need to have an excuse for this action.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, there's no, they're just doing it to do it,
Yeah.
you know?
And there's most of the time, I think like there's probably some kind of underlying instinctual thing that kicks in with
Well, yeah.
with something on the animal side, or maybe like it is something with instinct combined with some sort of like imbalance that temporarily occurs.
Well, it could be even
You know.
inherited through DNA, where, like humans, it's like, well, why did we wage war, or different things like that? And yeah, there is parts of, like prehistoric DNA and stuff and things left over
Yeah.
that aren't really relevant to today's world. But yeah, there's things that come up where you're like, wait, well, why would a human do this or that? And we try to put explanations on them, but ultimately it's like, well, human nature back then would have been, if you're here and you're not part of the us, we're going to kill you. Like
Yeah.
different things like that.
Well,
where-
even going more basic to that of, there are people today that will do something completely like irrationally ridiculous. Like, why did this person kill that family? Or why did they just suddenly decide, excuse me, pick like some tragic thing that, why did they just suddenly decide to do that? Like, they have no explanation for it. Like, just suddenly got this idea to do this crazy bad thing, and then they did.
yeah, I mean, most of what
But now
we
put
do
that
is
into
not
an animal that
natural.
doesn't have a moral compass.
Yeah.
It just has instincts. Can they have corrupted instincts just like everything, just like people? you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, I mean, most of how society has functioned is against the natural man. In my
Yeah.
opinion, anyways, is, and even if people would say, oh, well, look at this isolated tribe or this and that, they're not just doing this or that or whatever, and you're like, yes, because they benefit as a group.
Yeah.
But if you're not beneficial to the group, then you're out. So there are things like that, but it's not just violence and killing and things like that. There's all kinds of behaviors and
Yeah.
such where people want to think, well, if you think like this, then you're bad. If you do like this, then you're bad, because that puts them as other, and then I'm over here and I don't have those thoughts. I don't have those things. And it's a lie.
Yeah.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do, whether it's a bad thought or you laugh at somebody falling or different things, like, it could be something very simple. And, oh, no, I don't, it's, well, that's a correction.
Yeah.
You're correcting your nature in that way. You're not better, you're not worse. It's just
Yeah. It's like
how it is, and you're making a correction, and then instead of calling it a correction, you're saying, no, that's just how I am, and if you're not just how this is, then you're bad. Speaking of nature,
Speaking of, I wonder if that got picked up. Our cats, we have one cat that is a ridiculous cat,
Onyx.
and
Bye.
Cosette, just leave her
She
alone.
looks like she got scratched on her back.
Okay. We'll she needs to calm down. That's what happens when you have cats and kids in the middle of your the middle of your podcast. You might have a literal crazy cat fight in your house. No, it's like what you were saying made me think of. There's a funny video that I saw, and it's like a person's laying on a psychiatrist's couch, and they're like, "I just don't understand. I don't get it. Why the society that we live in and the people that we are, how can anyone laugh at farts?" And then the psychiatrist person, it's the same person, but now he's sitting in a chair and he's like, "I will explain this to you." And he's sounding all like authoritative about like why it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter the situation you are in, that farts are funny. And if someone farts and you don't laugh, it's because you're lying.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's that. Like, it doesn't matter whether you're 10 or 100. Someone goes to get up out of a chair in a quiet room, and then everybody thinks that's funny.
Well,
Everybody
since
else.
art and writing has ever been a thing, there is a line that you can follow all the way through, and that line is farts, butts, poo-poo, pee-pee.
Yes.
That is the straight line all the way through
Yes.
documented history.
Yes.
In
All of
every
history.
civilization. It doesn't matter which one it is. Pick one. It's in there.
Yeah.
Because we all do it.
Yep. Farts are funny. And but that what you were saying about like, well, no, you're not that way. You don't not have thoughts or inclinations or whatever that pop into your head. You just have something that for you self-correct.
Yeah.
And that just made me think of, maybe you don't out loud laugh at farts. But if you're like, no, farts are not funny. It was like the guy's like,
Yeah.
no, you're lying.
Yeah, I was thinking about this the other day, actually. I had a ex tell me about a story about her sister, and she was driving, and then she wasn't feel good, and then basically she just throws up on herself while driving.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's terrible.
Yeah.
And my ex just, how, what? Oh, why are you laughing? And I'm like, because the image
Yeah.
is funny. And if I told this to somebody, I would tell it as a funny story that happened to me.
Yeah.
I would not tell it as, woe is me. I'd be like, no, yeah, there's all over my steering wheel and everywhere.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
Yeah. It's the there's that it might be, is it Key and Peele? I think it's a Key and Peele sketch where they're soldiers and
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
laying on the
yeah.
battlefield and the guys are
I
like,
don't know if that's Key and Peele or...
no,
Anyways,
Key
I know
and
what
Peele
you're
is the one where
talking
they
about.
go to stab him and they move. Like he goes to stab him and he's like, and he shifts and it stabs the ground, and then he goes to stab him again and he just keeps moving, but he's still trying to pretend like he's dead. But no, the one is they're
Yeah.
laying and they're like, we just gotta lay here. We gotta pretend like we're dead. And they're whispering to each other. And then the one guy's like, and then the
I think
people,
that is Camp Hill.
they start looking around, and then the one guy's like,
Stop it.
he's like, stop it. And then they just can't hold it. And they bust up laughing.
The
And
best
they're
part
like,
is that
they're
like,
gonna come kill
God
him.
forgive me.
Yeah, it's a hilarious skit, but it's like, yeah, you're laying there about ready to die. It's your only way you can survive is pretend to be dead, but you can't, like, oh no, it's coming.
Yeah.
And we're dead.
Yeah, farts are funny. And to act like, no, I don't find that funny, that's a correction.
Yeah.
And you're lying if you act as if no one else should find it funny.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, you're wrong.
Yeah. So that's the that part, just a reference to what you were talking about we do make corrections. There are things, but if you have a character, if you're telling a story about somebody who, rather than make corrections, they're trained, they're raised up, like I said, those things piled upon nature, trauma, and then trained to, like, if you call it a moral compass, your moral compass is you don't ever correct.
Yeah.
The thing that you do, the only correction you make is if it's something counter to your own success in the moment.
Right.
That's the only time you correct. Otherwise, whatever it is you do, like it's the ultimate you do you.
Yeah, like you said, consequences.
Yeah.
Someone might act like farts aren't funny as a result of beneficiary consequences of going, well, I'll get higher status, I'll appear this way, I'll have better consequences for me in lieu of laughing.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you take that out of the equation, then, oh, well, I'm going to act on my base instincts.
Yeah.
But yeah,
so that'd be
that's basically a setting. He's a cold base instinct person, but now presented with all these things, now it's that struggle of, well, what do I do, and all this, and like I said, which is a falsity, because he still only has one option. There's always going to only be one outcome.
Yeah, so that'd be an interesting story.
Yeah.
Both to write and to experience.
And I haven't delved into it. I mean, I came up in like 6th grade, so I haven't delved into it too much since then. It's just always kind of been a story that I came up with back then, and just been there.
If only you can overcome the tediousness of actually writing.
I can't overcome the tediousness of anything. So once the neural implants take over, then it'll be so much better. Right?
That's how many times have we been writing and had that conversation where I'm like, if I just had the image, the movie that is playing in my head right now, I just need the Neuralink or something like it to be able to interpret that image and then be like, blah, 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 out on the page and be like, yes, that's exactly how I pictured it.
All right.
That's it. I didn't have to write anything. I just had to come up with a story in my brain.
But no, it is my hat's off to you for getting 2 books out, because I mean, it's just the one page, like I said. I mean, if you maybe I need to learn how to write, and I can revisit that. But for right now, I'm like, no, I don't know how to write, and it's just going to be frustrating.
Yeah. So, speaking like a book that I'm listening to, an audiobook right now, driving around and stuff. New story that I discovered recently, The Wandering Inn. Just going to shout out there to The Wandering Inn. It is, according to AI, when I search The Wandering Inn, and now Google has the Gemini response at the top.
Right.
It is the longest story written, like the longest word count story ever written
by a single individual. It's like I need to do like the book one is 450 something thousand words. On audiobook, the shortest book is a little over 26 hours long.
Oh wow.
The longest book is a little over 62 hours long for one book.
Yeah,
it's I don't remember they said, the AI thing
13 million.
13 million words.
Yeah, I don't think they used an outline on that
one. Yeah. I'm like, holy cow.
When was this written? When was it written?
It's still being
written.
Still being written.
Book 16 is still, I couldn't find like actual book 16. From what I've seen, it's out and I think getting made into audiobook right now.
Do you think there should be, if they write like other people, then there should be like a quarter more that exists that's not published?
Well, that's
said
the
that
thing. What it said was like book 15 is published, and then on again that response of, well, how long is it going to be? And the comment, it's what's his name? Pirate Abba.
Pirate Abba. Yeah.
Pirate Abba is the author, and from Pirate Abba, my understanding is through book 15, it's about 2/3 of the way done.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
That's
what?
nuts.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of writing.
But if you do get a chance to listen to it, the narrator is like amazing at portraying characters. Like from goblins to hobgoblins to trolls to humans to drakes to like all the different characters. They all have their own writing, their own voice style. And then within a drake that's like a dragon person, 2 different dragon people have their own voices.
Yeah.
And every time they come up, you can tell the difference.
I don't know if I could keep track of that long of a story for that long, to be honest.
I don't know. I'm working my way through it. We'll see. And we talked about it would be the what is her name? Andrea Pognu. It's like a French last name.
Polyev.
Parsnew?
Parsnew. I don't know if that's French. I was thinking French, but
It's spelled kind of Frenchy. I don't know.
yeah, it looks like it should be French, but pronouncing it, I'm like, I don't know.
Parsois.
Anyway, I'm like, Andrea, why don't you narrate our book? That would be awesome.
Yes,
You
it
could do
would.
all the voices.
So if she happens to be
If
listening,
she happens to be listening to this episode, she can respond and be like, yes, I will do an audiobook for you.
maybe you can get an AI version of her.
I guess we could train AI and have it.
Yeah, just infeed that and then be like, generate the same style.
Yeah.
Might get a lawsuit on that one. But anyways, are we wrapping up here?
Yes.
I didn't know if
Yep.
there's any other things you wanted to hit, like were you talking about the con or anything?
I think so we've got Tremendicon coming up. We're gonna have Caleb make some more stuff for us, but I think as far as we still have to come up with what we want exactly.
Yeah.
We've got a new design
Working on. Yep.
we're working on for book 2, so we can have bookmarks because Caleb does our bookmarks for us. We'll still need like more book 1 bookmarks and then have some book 2 bookmarks, and then talking about like maybe some mugs and stuff like that with our book stuff on it. But yeah, Tremendicon. It's Tremendicon, right?
Yep.
Tremendicon at the end of May and the Oasis Convention Center in Springfield.
Come see us.
Yep. Come check us out there. See Caleb's cool bookmarks and whatever else we have him come up with for us between now and then.
Yeah, sounds good.
So thanks for coming along the ride with us today. Caleb, thanks for joining us today. And
Yeah, we always appreciate having you.
Yeah, absolutely.
it's fun talking about writing and the ins and outs and the chaos that goes into actually getting a story on paper.
Yeah.
So, well, we will see you next time, and hopefully see you at Tremendicon, and hopefully we will have some good news coming up on some release dates for book 2, and we'll let you know. So till next time, go in good spirits. Thanks for listening to the Creators Guild podcast. Don't forget to get your copy of A Flight from Shadows, available on Amazon. While you're there, please rate it and give it a review. If you like the Creators Guild, please like and subscribe, and make sure to share it with your friends. Until next time, go in good spirits.